Bloomco, good day everyone! We're only a day away from the new world release date. Oh dear, it's really close now. I noticed that I still have 5 weapons to discuss the skills and passives about. So this video will be a double video. It will feature the musket and the bow. I'll make a separate spear video, and then I'll make a video for the fire staff and life staff together. For those that don't really know how weapons work in New World yet and haven't seen my previous videos, you can have 2 weapons equipped in New World. Each weapon has 2 specialization trees. In the case of a musket, you can be a sharpshooter or a trapper. You can put points in both trees, but you have a total of 19 points to spend. When you spend a point in the first tree, you unlock the second one. When you put a point in the second one, you unlock the third one, etc, etc. When you put 2 points in the first row, you don't automatically unlock the third row. You need to have something in the second row to unlock the third one. It's that simple. The line shows what needs to be unlocked in order to get later passives. So to unlock this one, you'd first need these 2. Other than that, each weapon can have 3 active skills. However, each weapon has 6 skills, so you'd have to pick which tree to use. Let's get this started. Oh, one last thing. When you put 10 points in a single tree, you unlock access to the final passive, which you can then put a point in. Those are usually pretty strong. And you have 19 points, so you can't have both of them. So you really have to pick what specialization you are going. Let's get it started on the left side. The first skill we're taking a look at is Powder Burn. Overload your musket with gunpowder, causing the next shot to deal 110% weapon damage and cause a burn status effect that deals 20% weapon damage per second for 9 seconds. Does not stack or combine with other overload shots. Cooldown 15 seconds. Damage numbers, cooldown numbers, any numbers actually, can and most likely will be tweaked in the future, but we can still get a general impression of how a weapon works. Also, for those that don't really know what a musket is, it's basically a long-range rifle. Like on this image here. Okay, anyway, the first ability was a straightforward damage with a damage over time burn effect. Damage over time effects are pretty nice. Some classes can, or some weapons can remove them, but for the ones that can't, and for PvE, it's nice additional damage. Backdraft. Standard musket shots deal 12% additional damage while the target is on fire. That's nice. It's not just simple 12% increased damage. It's 12% increased damage when the target is on fire, which promotes playing properly. And some people would prefer to have just 12% increased damage, but I prefer this playstyle more because it really promotes properly using your cooldowns for additional damage. If Power Burn is a headshot, extend burn duration to 13 seconds. Normally it's 9, so that makes this is another passive that really promotes properly playing your class, your weapon, your character, however you'd like to call it. 13 seconds instead of 9 seconds is pretty nice, especially because that also means you have additional uptime on your damage increase. So all in all, getting headshots with your powder burn, very important. Critical reload, landing 3 headshots with 5 seconds of each other, within 5 seconds of each other, grants an instant reload. The calculators are not always that great in, in their translations or in their English, or yeah, but clearly they mean within. An instant reload, pretty nice, saves some time. Also, it promotes more headshots. So headshots are totally the thing for, yeah, the musket. Accuracy penalty while hip firing removed. Okay, that allows for some quicker plays instead of having to really aim towards the target. I think this is especially handy while kiting or just quick pace PvE. Removes damage fall off from standard musket shots on targets more than 50 meters away. Also very nice. Normally there is indeed damage fall off. I don't know the precise numbers, and numbers are getting tweaked left and right, but having no fall off makes the musket a true sniper rifle. As we've seen in some YouTube videos from other people, they can do some crazy damage, especially on light armored enemies. Hit your mark. Increases headshot and critical hit damage to target the further the target is away from the player, for a max of 15% at up to 100 meters away. Does not forego damage fall off. Yeah, okay, but it might when standard musket shot. They really want you to fire at long range, because 100 meters is far. To make a comparison, the Great Axe has, for example, a pool that's like 6 meters. And yeah, when you're at 100 meters away, that pool is absolutely useless. The second skill for Sharpshooter is Powershot Overload musket with gunpowder, causing the next shot to deal 150% weapon damage. Does not stack or combine with other overload shots. Okay, roll damage, nothing too crazy. When you hit with Powershot, gain Empower, causing attacks to deal an additional 10% damage for 5 seconds. A bit of extra damage, not that much of a duration, but still extra damage is nice. 10% additional damage to targets with full health, so you'd really want to use this attack as your first attack. Powershot Headshots reduce the Powershot's cooldown by 15%, another thing that promotes headshots. Cold Shot, increase musket range by 5% if aimed down sight for more than 3 seconds. This really promotes more positional playing, so sitting at a position, for example in a big skill war or a dungeon against bosses, sitting at your safe position and then firing constantly in your aim down sight. Doing more damage, 5% is not a huge increase, so if anything comes towards you, or if there is an AoE on the ground or whatever, you'd still want to step out of it, because the 5% damage is usually not worth it. Standard attack headshots reduce all musket ability cooldowns by 10%. That's nice. Doing headshots is what you want to do as a sharpshooter anyway, and it having inbuilt cooldown reduction for all your other abilities is great. Heightened precision while aiming successful hits with a musket grant a stackable damage increase. This effect ends when player stops aiming down sight or more than 5 second passes between shots. This is kinda working together with this one. You really want to take position and aim. You can do a bunch of damage with that. This stacks up to 6 times. So that's a total of 15%. That's nice. You know, same story as with this one though. when something really comes towards you, or there's an AoE or whatever, just get out of it. It's not worth taking the damage for this tiny damage increase. But when you have the option to use this, then it's more than welcome. Unsuccessful headshot grant and power, increasing all musket shot damage by 10% for 5 seconds. Another passive to promote headshots. I mean, it doesn't surprise me at this point. Sharpshooter, headshot build. This is absolutely the build for those people that like playing shooters, that are great at doing headshots, aka not me. Shooter stance. Player enters shooting aim stance to enhance shooting performance. Shots deal 100% weapon damage, while in stance mobility is reduced to 0 and reload time is reduced by 75%. Mode will exit after 3 shots. So it's mostly there for the reload time reduction, but we'll see what the passives bring. Shots fired before exiting stance is increased to 5. Okay. If 3 consecutive shots hit the same target, reduce all other musket cooldowns by 25%. It's okay, but I'm not too hyped. I'm sorry. My overview videos, discussion videos, however you'd like to call them, are absolutely honest, and this one just, it might have value, but it doesn't interest me much. So that's just personal opinion. Sniper adds an optional 3x zoom view for all musket aim shots. Use mouse wheel up and down to zoom in and out while aiming. Also grants a 15% damage increase to all headshots. This makes your musket a true sniper rifle. Easy as that. It's great. This is the final passive, and if you're going for a sniper build, then you'd want to go for this. Heck, it's even called sniper, so yeah. Let's take a look at the trapper build. Salt on the wounds. 10% increased damage to targets below 30% health. So it's a bit better at finishing off enemies. The first skill, stopping power. Most likely powder, but we'll see. Overload musket with gunpowder, causing the next shot to deal 120% weapon damage. Staggering target and knocking them back 3 meters. Does not stack or combine with other overloaded shots. Okay. Targets hit with stopping powder are exhausted, reducing stamina regeneration speed by 10% for 8 seconds. Sorry, I'm reading this one again because I was thinking about the overloaded shots, and I finally get what they mean with it. There are different shots that are all overload shots that are basically for the next hit. You can't just place all of them together and then have 3 effects on the enemy at the same time. You really have to use them one by one, like most other skills in the game, but still it's worth talking about. Well, this is a knockback and stagger, which is great for CC. It's great for keeping your distance, but also interrupting people, interrupting casters, interrupting certain abilities, interrupting healers. So that's nice. This lowers their stamina regeneration. Targets hit with stopping power are slowed by 10% for 8 seconds. This is not really that big of a slow, but numbers might be tweaked. Increases stamina damage to blocking enemies using shields by 50%, most likely, or actual 50 stamina. We'll see. And deal 10% of armor penetration to targets that aren't blocking with a shield. Okay. More damage against people that are trying to block your shots is not bad. After a dodge, gain haste, increasing movement speed by 10% for 3 seconds. Movement speed is always nice. Dodge has no cooldown, it's only limited by your stamina. So having additional movement speed is not bad. And while 10% is not much, when you slow your enemy with 10% and you move 10% faster, then the difference becomes 20%, and that's pretty okay. Attacking a target with an active debuff restores 5 stamina. So if you have your slow on them, if you have your burn on them, or any other kind of debuff, using your attacks on them gives back a tiny bit of stamina. Stamina means you can dodge and block more, and dodging gives more movement speed in this case, so you'd be a lot more mobile with this passive. Traps. Throw a trap that lasts for 20 seconds. When triggered, it causes the target to be rooted, immobilizing target for 3 seconds. This is nice. This allows for serious outplay potential in cases there are corners or you're hiding behind a tree. Baiting people in your traps can be pretty amusing. Traps apply rend to the target, increasing damage to trap targets by 20% for 3 seconds. So this makes it even more worth to get them in your trap, because during the trap time they take a lot more damage. Regenerate 100% of weapon damage done as health. Oh, when dealing damage to trap targets. I was not expecting this. Lifesteal on a musket. Okay. Okay. This is interesting. So that makes when to use your trap a pretty important thing, because using it at full health would be somewhat of a waste, at least when it comes to the lifesteal. But obviously if you can prevent taking damage as a whole, then you wouldn't want to save your traps for when you do get hit. But yeah, man, I'm hyped. This I love lifesteal. I love getting back your health by doing damage, however you'd like to call it. So this is great. This is straightforward great, and 100% is a lot. I've seen some lifesteal on other weapons, but none of them were 100%. So nice. Ability to have 2 active traps. How long does it last for? Oh yeah, 20 seconds. Yeah, you'd be able to place more than one by having cooldown reduction, and there were some cases that reduced cooldown. Let's see, this one was a cooldown reduce. What was the other one? Oh, this one was a cooldown reduction. So nice. Traps are very nice. Empowering weakness. Hitting a target with an active debuff triggers empower, increasing player damage to be increased by 5% for 5 seconds. Simple damage increase for placing any debuff. Might as well. Dodging reloads the musket, can only trigger once every 6 seconds. This promotes dodging even more. This one already promotes dodging because it increases movement speed, so clearly the Trapper build is more mobile, where the Sharpshooter build is more take a seat and shoot at people from long range. Kick him when they're down. Deal 10% extra damage to target with an active crowd control status effect. Slow, root, or stun. Well, we have a clear root here, so doing even more damage. Combined with this one. Nice. Back it up. Walking. I'm sorry. I haven't had proper sleep in a while. Walking, strafing movement speed increased by 10% when an enemy is within 8 meters of player. This makes kiting a bit easier, especially combined with this one and this one. Yeah, I like kiting. So when you're playing a ranged character, it's so important to have proper movement. Which is why for now, I'm preferring the Trapper playstyle over Sharpshooter. One, because I suck at shooters and doing constant headshots is a no-go for me. Two, because Trapper feels way more mobile, way better at kiting with the trap, with the knockback, with the increased movement speed, with the slow on your enemy. Yeah, very impressive. Sticky Bomb. A bomb that can be thrown at short range and sticks to anything it makes contact with. Detonation will occur 3 seconds after impact, dealing 175% weapon damage to all targets within 3 meters. Sticky Bomb grants player 40 stamina when it deals damage with an explosion. 40 stamina, aka more dodging. Direct hits with the Sticky Bomb cause the target to be slowed by 15% for 5 seconds. This is another slow. Having this slow and this one, you can probably rotate them a bit because you wouldn't want to stack them. That's a bit overkill and most likely not that efficient, and we're not even sure if they can be stacked, but rotating them is nice. Also because it's another debuff, and if I remember correctly, yes, attacking a target with an active debuff restores 5 stamina. So you'd want to keep debuffs on your enemy as much as possible. So rotating is the key to victory. Lethal Combo. Increase musket damage by 20% against targets affected by Trapper 3 status effects. As if this wasn't enough. As if this wasn't enough. As if this wasn't enough. They really want you to place debuffs on your enemy and then do damage on them. Pretty straightforward. It's nice. I'm liking Trapper a lot. I can totally imagine Sharpshooters being more active in the game, as in more players playing it. But if I were to play Musket, I'd go for Trapper. Straight away. No doubt at all. Awesome weapon so far. And yeah, especially the Trapper. It's using the traps on my enemies. Let's see. I'll try to make a build out of it for now. Because in this case, it's the Trapper 3 status effect. That's the very important thing. So you want to get the most out of your Trapper 3. This way I already have multiple status effects. Boom. Let's see what other passives we want. We want this one. Extra movement speed. Extra movement speed. Hitting an enemy with an active debuff, yes, we'll constantly be doing that. Deal 10% extra damage when someone is slowed, rooted, or stunned, yep, because they'll constantly be slowed or rooted. Gives back stamina, yes. This one is I'm not happy with the calculator right now. This one is okay in certain PvP scenarios and some PvE scenarios, but not the biggest hype yet. What was this? 10% finishing blows. This is nice. We have 2 points left. Let's see if headshots. Nope, we're going for these after all. We're going full Trapper here. I know it might be a bit overkill, but so be it. I'm liking this. Nice. And on that note, let's just jump to the bow weapon as well. I already explained how the skills and how selecting active skills etc. works, how the rows work. So let's get straight into the skills. We have the skirmisher tree and the hunted tree for the bow. First skill on the left is poison shot. Shoot a poison arrow that on hit or land creates a cloud of poison 3 meters wide that lasts 6 seconds. Foes entering the cloud of poison dealing 10% weapon damage per second for 20 seconds. 10% weapon damage is very low, but numbers will be tweaked, but still it is very low. However, when someone is in there for 20 seconds, which is pretty insane, and most likely only used against bosses or very specific situations, then it goes up to a total of 200% weapon damage. Not per second, but total damage done. For me, this feels mediocre. But it's debuff, and we might get something that synergizes with debuffs. Poison shots. Poison now does 12% weapon damage per second. Yeah. I mean, it's higher than 10%, but still not hype. If you directly hit a target with poison shot, it deals 200% more damage. Now, this can be interesting, because I am guessing that the actual damage increase is on the poison. And based on the fact that poison shot does not show any other direct damage numbers, so it's purely the poison damage, which is normally 12%. Having it be increased by 200% makes it 36%, and that's finally a number that's worth having. Even standing in there for a few seconds will be enough to really hurt. So yeah, direct hitting, super important. I do like this because it promotes skill, and I might not be the best at aiming with ranged weapons, but I really like seeing this. If you hit a foe with 100% health, costs 10% slow for 2 seconds. Okay, meaning that you start the fight with an additional slow on your opponent. Not bad, eh? After you dodge, gain 10% haste for 2 seconds, you move faster. Also nice, kinda similar to what the musket has. Deal 10% more damage to foes suffering from a debuff, so for example, the poison. And the slow. So yeah, not bad. I kind of was expecting this, because the damage of the poison was not that hype, but since it is a debuff, being able to do more damage with this makes it worth more. Evade shot, leap back 5 meters and shoot an arrow, dealing 125% weapon damage, cooldown 15 seconds. This is basically disengage for those that played World of Warcraft Hunters. You just fire and leap back. I do wonder if this can be used to jump off mountains, then use evade shot last second while in the air to not have massive falling damage. I kinda want to test this because I always did that in World of Warcraft. Evade shot causes knockback of 2 meters that makes the distance between you and your enemy even more. Evade shot grants you 5 seconds of 15% haste. Now, nice, more movement speed. Having more kite potential is always a good thing. After you dodge, deal 20% more damage for 5 seconds. Okay, this already promotes dodging, this promotes it even more. Hitting a foe below 50% health reduces bow ability recharge by 5%. So that means that the moment an enemy is below 50% health, a boss or a player or a mob or whatever, you are constantly getting shorter cooldowns by hitting them. That's great. Hitting a foe with a debuff grants 5 stamina. That's nice. Gain 10% haste for 5 seconds when you swap to your bow. Additional haste, so more movement speed in this case. Not to be confused with the haste of some other games. That's usually ability haste, but this is movement speed. Also, 10 seconds cooldown. Sure. Still, you'd be able to have it up pretty often. Debuff and damage over time duration lasts 20% longer. That's nice, because that means more time for your other effects to be applied as well. I mean, Mark, I mean, Hunt is Insight. Those two mostly for now. If surrounded by 3 or more foes within 3 meters of you, gain 20% haste. You move faster. This one is permanent as long as those 3 enemies are within 3 meters of you. The moment you step out of that 3 meter range, the buff will be removed. But this is still good in crowded situations. If you're jumped by a group, you have more chance to get away, which is pretty funny. Shoot a barrage of arrows 7 meters wide that deals 150% weapon damage. Cooldown 25 seconds. Rain of arrows causes bleed, dealing 85% weapon damage over 12 seconds. Maximum of 3 stacks. I wonder if you can stack the bleeds by hitting the same opponent with multiple of the rain of arrows. For example, using rain of arrows like shotgun. Rain of arrows causes a 15% slow for 4 seconds. Slow reduces target movement speed. Straightforward, another slow. So you move faster, they move slower. You have poison, you have bleed, you have your disengage. It's a pretty mobile spec. Let's see what the final one. Leg shot causes 10% slow for 2 seconds. So with this you can keep your slow up permanently. However, normally you'd want to do headshots with a ranged weapon, with a bow or a gun. Because any headshot does bonus damage. And sacrificing that bonus damage for 10% slow. Well, in this case, you also do more damage to enemies with a debuff, so it might still be worth it. But this is not the greatest final passive that I've seen so far. Not even close. But yeah, it's okay having perm slow as long as you can keep hitting their legs. Let's go to the Hunter tree. Rapid shot. Shoot 3 consecutive arrows, the first 2 dealing 100% weapon damage each. The last shot causes a knockback and deal 125% weapon damage. This is pretty nice. Knockback is always nice to have, and this does pretty okay damage. If all 3 arrows hit the same target, rapid shot's cooldown is reduced by 50%. Nice. Third shot of rapid shot deals 25% extra damage. Also nice. I've been saying nice a lot, I know, but still. Nice. Deal 20% more damage to foes at least 10 meters away. Okay, you'd want to be at range anyway with a bow, so makes sense. If your target is below 50% health, deal 20% more damage. So great at finishing off enemies. If you haven't damaged a foe in the last 10 seconds, deal 20% extra damage. So your first hit on an enemy will basically be a stronger hit. When you land a headshot, heal yourself for 10% of the damage done. Okay then. I really can't do headshots properly. But I love lifesteal. And while 10% is not that much, especially in, okay, when you're doing PvE content, you can constantly do headshots a lot easier than against proper players. So you'd constantly be getting a tiny bit of health back. Makes leveling, makes open world content a bit easier. Penetrating shot. Shoot an arrow, dealing 150% weapon damage that passes through targets and continues for 100 meters. This is a long range attack and it goes through targets, so it's great for big groups, for sieges, for any scenario where you'd want to hit multiple targets, especially when they're at long range. Increase damage by 10% after each hit. Yeah, this makes it even more important to hit multiple targets, so you'd really want to line them up. I don't think this is going to be an easy skill to use. Penetrating shot deals 20% more damage to targets 20 meters or more away. Yeah, as I said, you don't want to use it at long range and line them up. This will be hard, but it does a lot of damage. Under the right circumstances, at least. Heavy attack arrows fly fast and deal 30% more damage. Straightforward. Heavy attack arrows are usually the way to go anyway with a bow. So having them deal 30% more damage is great. Receive 10% less damage while aiming. Also great, combined with this one. Heavy attacks deal plus 20% damage to foes with 100% health. So you can start with doing more damage. And you already have this one, your surprise attack. So your initial hit with a heavy attack will be really hard. Increased arrow distance before start of gravity by 100%. Arrows fall down after a while. They slowly tumble towards the ground. So having increased range is nice. Is it a musket now all of a sudden? No, it's not. It's still a bow. It still goes down eventually. Bow shots, critical chance increased by 10%. That's nice. Critical hit chance is great. And it's already a dexterity weapon, so it will crit a lot, but having 10% additional on top of it is great. Splinter Arrows. Shoot an arrow out 10 meters. It then splits into 3 arrows, dealing 50% weapon damage. 50% is pathetic low. This is just low damage for now. 5 arrows. Okay, then it becomes acceptable. If you'd be able to hit the same target with all of these arrows, then it still counts as a shotgun and it does acceptable damage. But having just 50% weapon damage, that's just nothing. That's lower than a normal auto attack hit. Reduce cooldown, shot per hit by 10%. Okay. So yeah, I think, and I'm fairly certain that I've seen videos about this, but you can hit the same target with multiple arrows, and then, yeah, acceptable damage, but probably somewhat hard to properly aim because it splits at a very specific distance, so your opponent has to be at that distance to be properly hit by multiple arrows. When you land a headshot, oh dear, you deal 20% more damage and have a 50% chance to get your arrow back. Okay, doing more damage with headshots means you get more health back as well, which is great. Having a 50% chance to get your arrow back is also very nice because you'd constantly be using arrows when you're playing with a bow. And this can save a lot of arrows in the long run. So yeah. For now, I'm personally liking Skirmish a bit more. But I don't feel confident right now to really make a build for the bow. I hope that going over these passives, going over these skills, has at least motivated some of you to use the bow, to make a proper and awesome build with it. I think it has a lot of potential. It has nice disengage, it has knockbacks. Initially I thought this poison would be pathetic, but with the direct hit it becomes pretty decent. Permanent slow or permanent lifesteal on headshots. It has a lot of ways to play with the bow, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what people will think up when it comes to this weapon. But yeah, that's it for now. I really enjoyed going over the musket and the bow. Out of musket and bow, I'm still the most in love with musket trapper build. I already explained why. But yeah, it's mostly because of the trap. It's that simple. But yeah, both very interesting weapons. I'm sure some people will combine the two of them to go for a full long range build. But I'm pretty curious to see what other weapons will be used with them as well. For example, bow spear, musket with a rapier, or anything really. So I think this is it for now. I'd love to wish you all a very pleasant day and have fun on the release of New World tomorrow. Goodbye.